got an amazing show lined up and ready to go today. It's all about new construction, how to find a builder, who's the best builder, what are the, how much are materials, what's the new construction process, but most importantly, how to get financing to build your dream home. We're going to be going over all that today. I got my special guest on, one of the top premier builders in the Southwest Florida area, Charlie from Charlie Williams Construction, been in business since 1986. How you doing, Charlie?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us. I know this week we're really digging into new construction and what type of products and programs are out there. But I thought who would be better to bring on here and talk to than somebody that does it every day. Now I wanted to just ask you, tell me a little bit about your all's business and how'd you get started in this and that kind of thing.
Well, we're a general contracting company. We've been established since 1985. My
Wow.
father, grandfather, and uncle started the company. They were doing commercial high rises before that, out on Siesta Key here in Sarasota, and then went out on their own back in 1985 and started doing custom homes. And really been doing that pretty much ever since I started. Uh, when I was 16, 17 years old in the industry, and I had odds and ends jobs after that, but basically been doing this for the last going on over 20 years now.
That's amazing. So you guys have been in it. Now I understand it's a family-owned business. It was started by your grandpa, Charlie, right?
Yeah, well, it's my grandfather, uncle, and my father actually started the company all together as partners.
Oh, wow.
My grandfather, uh, yeah, was the president, but yeah, they all started it together. And yes, it's still always been family owned, operated um, ever since then.
So you all they started out doing the commercial like high rises and stuff like that.
Uh, they were uh, they were the foreman on high rises for I believe it was Gene Simmons. It was a big builder back in the day, uh, and that was high rises. But when they started, they focused solely on residential custom homes.
Okay, that makes sense. So, um, tell me a little bit. You guys do a little bit of everything. So you guys have a commercial division and you also do residential homes, right?
Yeah, so um, our main focus is custom homes. We like dealing with the owners directly. So we really focus on doing custom homes, and then probably about the past 4 to 5 years, I got into doing a lot of commercial projects, and the only commercial projects we do, we really don't work for investors. We work for owner operator businesses. So we're still dealing directly on our commercial projects. We're dealing directly with the owner and not an investor.
Okay, so if somebody had the financing or had the money to come, they could literally come to you and you could help them from pretty much start to finish on building their custom home the way they want it, right?
Yep. Yeah,
That's
that
awesome.
is correct.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and
Well, go ahead, sorry.
yeah. So what kind of what we do hitting on that, we we can either walk people through the entire process. So a lot of customers come to us with an idea, no drawings, no financing in place, and just they have an idea. So what we do, we can walk through the entire process, not only just build uh, the home, build the project on the construction
Hmm.
phase of it, but helping them through the design, helping them with the architects, getting all the paperwork in order, dealing directly with the bank. So I think that really gives us a leg in the game as far as a selling point that we can help people through the entire process, and it is quite a
That's
long
awesome.
process.
Yeah, it is, and so you guys take the dream and make it reality, is what it sounds like, which is amazing. Because a lot of people
Uh,
create this stuff, and the people, a lot of, I mean, I can count on my, most people want to build their own home, but they don't know how to get started. They don't know where to go. They don't know how much. So it's great that they could come to you all and kind of figure out, you know, tell you what they want to do, give you their ideas, and then you can kind of make that happen, within reason. So that's pretty awesome.
right,
Uh,
and that And a lot of people come to us with, they want to be in a budget of X amount. So it's like, what can we get for that? And um, you, I think what really sets us apart is, we have to have an open and honest relationship with these customers. Uh, they have to trust us. We have to trust them because we're going into a relationship for the next, couple of years of working together.
Yeah, I mean
So it
that's
is a
that
relationship.
that's longer than some people's marriages.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. But yeah, we have to have a good feeling all the way around, not just the owners or the customer with us, but we have to have a good feeling with the customer as well. Now, a lot of
Yeah.
people ask, for references for us, which we give. I have a laundry list of references that I give to people that go back 20 years that we still have relationships with these customers that just literally came to us. They heard about us, and we
Hmm.
still have relationships with them.
Oh, I bet you all have a huge.
So
I bet you have a huge list of references since being open from since the '80s. I'm sure you all have kind of. It's like, where do you start? You probably have a search engine for your references.
yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
go ahead.
yeah, a lot of my customers still will allow some of my new customers that are looking for a reference to let them come out to their house, and that's really odd in this day and age. But a lot of people we work for are really good-hearted people, and that's
Hmm.
how they are.
That's awesome, man. Well, the reason I wanted to have this show is there's a lot of people that want to build right now, especially there's a huge huge housing shortage in Southwest Florida. There's just not a lot of homes. There's a ton of people moving here from other states, especially like New England and California. So a lot of people are interested in building. They got to come to you and they got to find first thing is find a lot where they want to build it at. But I kind of wanted to walk through this with you. A lot of people don't realize how much goes into the new construction process, like you were just talking about. There's a lot. It could take several years depending on the project, but on average, how long does it normally take to build a regular residential home? If everything falls into place, what do you think the average time frame is?
It's if they do not have a set of plans, they do not have financing in place. They're coming to me. They just call me out of the blue. It's
Yeah,
about 16 to 18 months to
and
start
that's
to finish.
yeah, but that's a big portion of that is so licensing, engineering, architectural
Yeah,
plans.
well, I can kind of walk you through a timeline of my initial call. So if somebody calls me today, we'll set up a meeting probably next week and come in and sit down with me. Uh, it'll take about 2 months, depending on the customer. It'll take approximately 2 months to get uh, a set of plans where I can actually start pricing it out for them. And then
Okay.
that time, once we get that 2 month process of getting that preliminary set of plans, I send that out for pricing and to my engineers to finalize the plans. And that takes an additional 2 months. Permitting is taking roughly 2 months
Okay.
to 5 months, depending on the county.
So yeah,
And then once we,
let's walk through the process real quick. I wanted to go through that with you. So the first step, come to you. You got to get designs and architectural designs and engineering done. Is that the first step?
that is the first step. Yes,
Okay.
that is you got to get this in place really before you even talk to if it's going to be financed through a financial institute, a bank. We really have to have a set of plans, something to go to the bank with to start a packet together before. I mean, they can obviously go get pre-approved a credit line, but we can't
Yeah.
appraise the
Yeah.
house and get financing on the house until we get this design
Yeah.
in
I mean,
place, and that is 100% the first step.
it's like a business plan. You can't. It's all gotta. If you want everything to come together in a nice puzzle that fits together, you got to have the engineering plans as kind of like the roadmap for the whole thing. So that makes sense.
Correct. Correct.
So then the next step, okay, they got the engineering, they know what home they want to build, they secure the financing. Then that's when you go into the accessing and applying for the permits, right?
Correct.
And that usually
Yeah, and that
takes.
process, like I said,
Yeah, go ahead.
it takes anywhere from six. Average is about 6 weeks. I tell everybody prepare for a month to 3 months. Again, that all depends on the county or city, because some areas Sarasota City is extremely backed up, but
Hmm.
Manatee County is not. So it really depends on the county, but about 2 months on permitting would be sufficient.
Gotcha.
And
That
that's
makes sense.
residential. That is not commercial. That is commercial is a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole nother show, and I'd love to have you back on in a couple months or something because we are going to have a commercial development, and going to have kind of a commercial show to go over different products and programs and lines of credit. So I'd love to have you back on for that. So we got the
Sure.
permitting kind of out of the way. Now, when does the cost sheet? Because I know you kind of get an estimate together of all the different. Because there's a step-by-step process. You got foundation, you got framing. When do you come out with the cost sheet and kind of give them an idea how much each phase is going to cost?
Well, I try to give them a detailed cost sheet uh, before I go to permitting.
Okay,
Uh, so, if there's anything that has to be changed, if we need to tighten up the budget a little bit, definitely we need to do that before we submit for a permit because we don't want to really get into plans changes and anything like that once we have a permitted set of plans because it does get time consuming, costly for that. So we try to get that all taken care of before we go to permitting. And that's, one thing with us, we give a very, very detailed cost sheet to the owners.
yeah, and I love that because people really see where the money's going, and I think that's important, especially when if you have someone building a vacation home, they want to know, how much is framing going to cost? How much is the foundation? How much do you think it's going to cost for permits? Because permits and designs and all that can cost a little bit of money too. So I love that. I've seen your all's cost sheets, and I love the way you break them down. They're really easy to read and understand. Um, they're itemized to where you don't have to be a mathematician to understand it. So I love that. So you got the permits, got all that out of the way. What's the first phase you go through when you start building?
Well, if we're definitely doing the site work, if we're clearing stuff like that, we got to get the site work cleared, got to get the pad built. Typically, in some counties, I don't have to have a permit in place for an earth moving permit. So if we're in permitting, I know the permit's going to come out and within the next few weeks, I'll actually uh, start building the pad, start getting all that ready to accept the concrete.
Okay,
And we really try to start breaking ground on the project the following week once the
gotcha.
permits released. So we a lot of our stuff we try to schedule out way in advance, so there's really no downtime because that's one thing that we have to compete with right now is these projects are taking a little bit longer because
Yeah.
of the supply issues, the material issues, labor issues. So we really try to dial in our scheduling uh, so we won't have any downtime whatsoever.
So I like that because so you give people a timeline, and if you're kind of conservative with it, so you're basically like at the worst case scenario, here's what it'll take, and then best case scenario if things all fall into place. So I like that about you guys too, because people know what they're getting into. They're not like thinking that they're gonna have their house done in 3 months. So, when they know like once so you get the lot plot, you get the lot prepped for the concrete, and then you pour, I guess, the footers and all that stuff.
Correct. Yeah, that'd be the next stage. You put the foundation in. That consists of your footers, slab, um, and then all that obviously has to be inspected. And
Hmm.
then you do your exterior walls. We typically do CMU walls. That's block walls. We don't do a lot of stick framing in Florida anymore. That's an up north thing now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not really ideal for this area. But yeah, we do a lot of block walls and sets of trusses and dry it in and all the put the windows, doors, and the rest of the subs come in as far as electrician, plumber, AC, mechanical, stuff like that.
Well, we're going to take a short break. I don't want to cut you off. We're going to take a quick commercial break for our sponsors. But Charlie, where could people go to if they are interested in talking with you all about building a home? Like, what's the best phone number and website they could go to?
Our office line is 941-379-8110. and we have a website and a Facebook page. It's Charlie's Construction is our Facebook page, and Charlie's Construction is our website. Just put that in your search bar, and it'll come up.
So we'll be right back. We're going to come back, and when we get back, we're going to talk about the draw process and finish up, the remaining process that goes into new construction. But we'll be back with Charlie from Charlie's Construction here in Southwest Florida. So we're back here with Charlie from Charlie's Construction with Charlie Williams here in Southwest Florida on how to beat the banks on 1490 AM WWPR. If you got any questions, feel free to drop us a question at howtobeatthebanks.com or give us a call at 941-745-1490. And we were talking about the process. Basically, we're getting closer to the framing time, but essentially a lot of the heavy lifting is done before the heavy lifting. All of permitting, architectural engineering designs, getting your schematics and your cost sheet, all that kind of figured out. I call that kind of the heavy lifting before you actually start doing, the real labor and heavy lifting. So we're kind of in the middle of that right now. We're at the framing point. So what would you say is like the quickest phases of the build? Once you start building, is it the footers and the framing and all that, or is it what part would you say like people can say, hey, once I see this, I should be done in a few more months?
Yeah, so there's a lot of times that it looks like nothing's happening on the project. The quickest phase is getting in.
I've seen that a lot. You'll drive by a home that's being worked, that the contractors are working on, and it's been just you're like, what are they doing?
Yeah, so that happens a lot. So up until we break ground, get the walls up, get the roof on, the windows, that's basically phase 2 of the construction. That goes extremely fast. So it appears to go extremely fast. And then you get into all the interior stuff where you can't have subs working on top of each other. So you got to schedule the electrician in there for a week or two, and then the plumber gets in there. On larger projects, we can have multiple subs in, but typically, it looks like almost nothing is happening for 2 months. And then once you get to the very final stages, after the drywall's been hung, you're painting, you're critiquing all the trim work, stuff like that, it really starts to look like it's slowing down. But there's people working, it doesn't look like a lot's happening. And that I get that all the time, like, what's taking so long? And I can't tell you how many times I've had to sit down with the owner and look, this is what's happened. This is our timeline. We're actually hitting our timeline or under. We really haven't had any houses lately go over our estimated project schedule. So we're still coming into our project schedule.
So
even with COVID and everything, material shortage and everything, we're still hitting our estimated timelines.
So it sounds like you speed up, or actually it's kind of like when you start out, you're slow, then you speed up, then you slow, and then you speed up at the end. Is that kind of how it goes? It's like go stop. For the person watching.
Pretty accurate, yeah. Yeah, so, that would be pretty accurate. That would kind of, if you're out there watching the house go up, that would probably be an accurate statement.
So a lot of the stuff that takes the longest is the more detailed stuff, is what you're saying. The trim, the finished carpentry stuff, the more specialized skilled labor. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah,
plumbing.
And we have cabinets going in that are 14, 16 weeks out. So we have to schedule those way in advance. And if something gets missed on our end, which we really tried not to let that happen, but this is construction, stuff does happen that we have to, work around. So, we had a material shortage on a project a year ago, and the exterior doors were 20 weeks out. And we actually had to board it up and do the drywall, seal off the house before we had exterior doors in. Everything worked out. We turned it out. We had the ACs going in the house without exterior doors. We just had them sealed up. So, there's ways around these material shortages and labor shortages. We just got to work through them.
And then so back to the labor shortages, do you all use subs for a lot of things or just certain types of things?
Yeah, we sub everything out. We are a general contractor, and we manage the projects. So we
Okay.
do sub. We years ago we had crews in house doing a lot of the hands-on, but it was really too hard to find good help, and
Yeah.
we just stepped back and kind of looked at it. We had really dependable subs, and so it's like let's gear up in this fashion and go that direction, and that's what we've been doing lately, and it's really been working out for us.
What do you think's causing the main labor shortage with finding subs and people to come to the job site on time? What do you think? Do you have any like opinion on what you think the main cause for that? Because I've noticed it, especially within the last 5 years. A lot of the contractors I talk to, that's one of their number one struggles is I can't find subs, and the ones I can find can't get to it for months, or they can't they don't show up on time. What do you think the reason is? There just less people doing it, or
Well, people don't want to work, and my honest opinion on that is more of a political thing. I really don't want to get into that.
yeah.
It's something that people don't want to work right now. For the long time, the government was paying people to stay home, and I don't think they really, everybody's bounced back from that. So,
So did you
I
you
am starting
notice?
to see
So
some
you
labor
notice?
force.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I am starting to see some labor force coming back. It's reflecting on some of my supplies, my truss suppliers. They're getting caught up
Hmm.
because their labor force is starting to come back, but it's nowhere near where it was.
So you saw a huge downturn after COVID hit you. That was a real thing. You saw that change the industry quite a bit from a subcontractor
Yeah, yeah,
standpoint.
that really hurt the material supply and the labor force.
And we were fortunate here in Florida. I can't even imagine what they're going through in other states where the COVID regime and guidelines were strict for like almost a year. I can't even imagine what those contractors are going through. Luckily in Florida, it was only a little bit serious for a few months because we were a little bit smarter and allowed the businesses to open up sooner than everybody else. And I mean, because it could have been a lot more of a shock if we, who knows what would have happened if they shut
Right.
us down for like a year, like a lot of states had. So, um, well, we,
Yeah, I'm glad we have the governor we do.
yeah, me too. I'm okay with saying it because you could say whatever you want on this show. It's a free speech within reason. Um, the
Right.
owner, the owner of the station just winked at me when I said that. So, um, what what do you all offer? Like, okay, so there's lots of different types of people on different budgets. What kind of what's your main client that you cater to, or are you kind of open, with different price points? Because I know like the average home in Sarasota County right now is $550,000. What are you all? Do you all cater to luxury home, or is it more like kind of 4 to 600,000, or what's kind of your all's area that you focus on?
We are across the board. We will do starter homes for upcoming couples, and I'm doing a 3-story house out on Siesta right now. I mean, we do it complete across the board. We won't turn anybody away because of the budget.
So you wear a lot of hats.
Yes, you could say that.
Because well, it's just like in lending, what I do, it's you got clients all over the place. You got your first time buyers or your starter home people building a house, and then you got people that are building their dream home on Siesta that might be their sixth house they've bought or built. So it's similar in that area. So I think that's great, and that's one thing I love about you all is you're not just like, oh, we're gonna do luxury homes and that's it. I'm sorry. So I
Yeah, and
like
that's
that.
and
I like that about you guys that you're willing to work with people and help them out. If the project makes sense, I really I think that's a good thing. All right, well, we'll be back here in just a minute with Charlie Williams, Charlie Construction here in Southwest Florida. Get a hold of him. Go to charliewilliamsco.com, and we'll be back here on How to Beat the Banks. I'm local mortgage expert Joe Miller, 1490 WWPRAM. And we're back here with another amazing How to Beat the Bank show with the one and only me, Joe Miller, local mortgage expert here on 1490 WWPR AM. Give me a call, 941 246 4496. That's 941 246 4469. I'm sorry, I messed it up. It's 941 246 4469. Give me a call. Answer any questions that you have involving new construction financing, permitting, codes, anything you need to know. Go to howtobeatthebanks.com and also ask us anything. We're here to help you. And I got Charlie Williams from Charlie Williams Construction here in Southwest Florida. These guys know what they're doing, and we've been talking about how they're able to work with different types of homes based on your budget. But Charlie, how do you guys kind of determine how much someone wants to spend on a home?
Yeah, one of the things we try to do, and this goes back to having that open and honest relationship with our customers, is we try to get the customer, hey, tell us where you want to be at, and we can try to get you into something that is not cheap, but it's going to be a good home for you. Because, we're building you something that a lot of these people, it's a huge investment. So
it is. It's
tell us what you want. Tell us what you want to be at, and we'll see what we can do for you. And that comes back to we're very transparent when it comes to our price sheet. The cost sheets that I've provided to you. Well, what goes along with that is about a 6-page detailed cost sheet. I give that to the owners, and my numbers match my proposals. I don't increase my subs prices. And I show those all. I show the proposals and the invoices. If the owners want it, they can have them.
I think that's amazing. I think that being with what you all do, the fact that you're this transparent, because you don't get that from a lot of contractors. A lot of the time, it's very broad categories, and you don't know really what's making that category up. And I love how you all break it down in details, because people, especially these days where our economy's a little messed up right now, people are really skeptical about where their money's going. So it's good that you do that, and that transparency is amazing. What kind of, so we were talking about supply chain and materials. Are you still seeing a lot of struggle with that? Is there still a lot of special orders or back orders and stuff like that going on, or does it depend on what you use for the house?
Yeah, there is still quite a few line items. Windows are still a pretty big issue right now. So, and exterior doors. Typically, it was only 3 months out. So now they're double that in some cases. So what we would have to do to combat that is go when I get my permit, or I know the permit's going to be approved. They don't have any problem. The county doesn't have any problems with my plans. I will actually order everything ahead of time, like 3 months ahead of time before I would typically order it, just so I know those items will be there when we need them.
So you don't take any chances on, oh, we're ready for the windows. Oh, I got to order them.
Right. And then you'll get them in 5 months.
I wonder why they go. You would think out of everything, windows would be accessible, because we got window manufacturers here in Florida. It's just, I wonder if it's just where it's weird.
That's the labor. They're short on labor. We use PGT, and they run around the clock. Their facility runs around the clock building windows. Now, the same thing with our trust department. They have multiple crews in there running around the clock, and they just can't fill the slots with people, and that just comes down to that labor shortage again.
What about lumber prices? Have they gotten better since COVID hit? Because I know they were jacked up really high, back in 2020 for a little bit.
Yeah, they were fluctuating a lot, but they actually, from what we're seeing, the lumber has balanced out a little bit as far as the pricing. When I'm getting proposals back and takeoffs back, I'm not really no longer sticker shock. I'm like, wow, this house should not have cost that much, but I'm not seeing that as much. I think pricing is starting to balance back out. I think some of our line items, my electrical is still pretty high. I think that's due to the copper and stuff like that. But I'm seeing everything kind of bounce back out.
Well, copper, yeah, and then copper and some of those other metals have been kind of high for a few years, so that's not. I remember my parents, they renovated an old home that was built in like 1910, and ended up, because of the way everything, the gutter system was, they put copper gutters on their house, and I remember thinking,
Really.
that's insane. I'm like, the first person that can is going to come over and steal your gutter.
Right.
So yeah, but copper's been high for a while. So we're getting a little short in time. I really wanted to kind of, the biggest message I want to bring out today is letting people know that if you're wanting to build, there's not a lot of high quality contractors that you can trust that do it for a reasonable price, like Charlie's does, which is what I love about you guys. You're not just, there's a lot of people out here. It's almost like if you get it too good of a price, it's usually too good to be true. But Charlie's Construction really will, they're definitely not the cheapest, but they're reliable, and you're always going to get transparency on where your money's going, which is what I love about you. Now, as far as a lot goes, do you guys help people find lots, or is that something they need to have like before they come to you guys?
So what we do, we actually don't have any property or we don't sell lots. But what we do, we will do is if a customer is looking at a lot, we'll go there and look at the lot with them, see if there's going to be any development issues. Um, if we think it's going to, this lot is going to take X amount of dollars, this is going to put you way over your budget, we need to
Hmm.
find a different lot. So we do that, but we really don't get involved with as far as realtors or anything in that matter. But we look at projects, look at lots, make sure there's no issue, and kind of sway the customer. Okay, we need to find another lot, or no, this is a really good lot. Um,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Well, what I was thinking too, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if it were me, I would want to have the builder involved with picking out the lot for zoning reasons, for the dwelling that I'm going to build reasons. It may not be compatible with that lot, the type of property you're wanting to build, and zoning and codes and all that. Would that be a good reason to have you guys look at it as well?
Yes, but you're leaning more on commercial aspect on that one.
Okay.
Residential, yeah, you're not going to have a lot of issues with the residential as far as zoning. You will
Okay.
have some issues with wetlands, stuff like that, to make sure that it's a buildable lot. You have the space for it. But it's more the wetlands that on residential you need to be kind of concerned about. But yeah, the zoning issues, all that kind of stuff is more, more a commercial aspect.
I got you. Yeah, that I just wanted to make sure, because I always get people that ask me about, a particular. It's more difficult on the computer to do research on parcels than it is, existing structures. So I always tell people, you need to reach out to either a licensed realtor or a licensed builder contractor to help steer them in. Because I mean, you could buy a lot that has to have a well put in to have running water. If you just go out and randomly buy a lot and don't know what you're getting into, it may not be what you're expecting when you go to build the house. So and one thing I wanted to point out too, a lot of times people worry about, hey, am I going to have to buy the lot with my own, as a separate loan? Well, here we actually offer, we actually will let you buy the lot when you do the build on the home too. So you can do it all in one loan, which is really nice. So you go out and you find a seller and they're like, hey, I want 150 for the lot. You close on the new construction loan. We pay the seller off for the lot. So you don't necessarily have to go out and buy that lot separately. There are a lot of financing options to buy that lot at the same time as securing the new construction loan. How do the draw processes work with you guys? Like, how many, on a typical residential home, how many draws do you have to do if everything goes to plan?
Typically, it's about 8 to 9 draws. I do 1 month, one draw a month every 30 days on these residential houses, and the build times are about 8 months. So you'll have approximately eight draws, and then sometimes the bank requires a retainage. So your ninth draw would be all the retainage.
Okay. What are what would you say is like some of the major drawbacks that you see or snags people run into when they go to build a home? What are some of the main obstacles you think that they kind of deal with?
A lot of times it's communication.
Okay.
Um, with saying, thinking something was said or something got missed. So what we try to do is get everything in writing. Obviously, we have a contract that's still in a spec sheet to fill everything out. And then if there's anything, any kind of change orders and stuff like that, definitely have everything documented. I try to do everything through emails. If there's any communications, like a phone call, I always tell my owners, okay, you want this change, follow this up with an email, and make sure I respond to you when we get a change order in place. We've got to have everything in writing because stuff gets missed all the time, and it's mainly because of communication.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So and I feel like that goes into almost every industry. Communication is so essential. And you would think these days with all the technology that we have, communication would be easier, but it seems worse than it used to be. I think there's too many forms of communicate now. It's just like give me one or the other, you know.
That,
Uh,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. People are too connected right now.
it's like
It's too easy to communicate.
I don't want to Snapchat. I just want you to call me directly or send me an email that's a thread that we can keep communicating on. But people, I think that with our business, I know that's like some people want to do messaging, some people want to do text, some people want to email. It's like, so we
Yeah.
have to reach out and be like, what's your primary form of communication? So I could definitely see, and with what there's so many people involved with what you all do, I can't even imagine how many people are a part of the entire project. I know in lending it's 21 people who touch a loan before it closes on average. In your alls it's probably like 50.
Yeah, I have about, on an average residential home, about 35 different companies that I work with to get that project completed. And that's through the building side of it. That's not the architects and engineers.
I was
So
going to
it
ask
is
you oh, go ahead, sorry.
the yeah. So the communication, you having 35 different people involved in a
Hmm.
project, and you try to change something, it can mess up a lot. It can mess up a lot. So definitely it's that, email, make sure everybody's on the same page. Uh, so there's not any hiccups going through. But this is construction, like I said before. There will be hiccups, so you just got to figure out how to overcome
No, there's never any hiccups. You're lying.
them. Not at all.
Well,
Every day feels like a Monday.
oh, I know. It's like that is totally true. I wanted to ask you before everything before you get off here, what would you say differentiates Charlie's Construction from your average contractor here in Southwest Florida? Like, what makes you guys? Why would somebody want to use you guys versus another contractor?
So I think there's a couple things that really set us apart. First, our transparency, just being completely open, not opening our books, but opening the entire project
Hmm.
to the owner, showing them every single proposal, showing them every single invoice, giving them a copy of it if they would like it. So the transparency is really big. I think that really sets us apart. But also, I think one of the main things when people come to us, we help them through the beginning stages before construction. We really sit down with them, get everything ironed out, and help them through that process of preparing for construction.
Gotcha. So it sounds like just the level of service that you provide really
Correct.
helps. And because a lot of times, I've heard a lot of horror stories. I'm gonna have some come on the show later about people. They'll get a contractor off Craigslist, and once they give them a little bit of money for the materials, they'll all of a sudden the communication starts getting a lot less. And so the fact that you guys are so diligent and communicate and have that transparency, I think sets you all apart immensely from a lot of companies because when you're going through a long, expensive process like building and you can rely. I mean, I guess I'll tag it with one word: reliability, because that's to me when you're spending all that money, reliability is key. If you know, hey, I'm giving someone hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they're going to be there for me when I need it. That's huge, you know.
All right. It comes down to that trust. I mean, you have to have a good feeling going into it because you have a relationship, and it comes back to communication. If somebody, these owners have it's my personal cell phone. Now, I don't take calls after I have to turn it off uh, at the evenings whenever I'm home, but
Hmm.
I'll call those owners back the next day. I'll get right back to them the next day. I won't wait till the end of the week. It's big on that communication. Get back in touch. They call, leave a message. Well, I need to return the call. That's how I look at it. They're waiting for me to call. They're waiting for an answer. Even if I don't have the answer right away, hey, I got your message. I'm looking into it for you. Give me a couple days. Just big on that communication, talking to these owners, and just having that good relationship.
Yeah. Well, again, where can people go to find you guys and talk to you if they have any questions? Where's the best phone number?
Our office line is 941-379-8110, and just Charlie's Construction's our website, and we have a Facebook page, Charlie's Construction.
Just want to thank Charlie so much for coming on today. He just told you where to reach him at. Be sure to get with these guys. They know what they're doing. It's Charlie Williams Construction, charliewilliamsco.com. And we're going to take a quick break here with How to Beat the Banks with Joe Miller, 1490 WWPR.